On October 5th, 1999, world-famous climber Alex Lowe died in a devastating avalanche along the slopes of a Tibetan mountain. His death sent shockwaves through his family. Lowe left behind a wife and 3 young sons. And decades later, his oldest son, Max, created a documentary exploring his dad's adventurous spirit and the challenges his death forced his family to face. And Max Lowe is here now to talk about how the loss of his father impacted his life. Thank you so much for joining us. So that intro really barely touches on your story because your dad was almost like a superhero. Like, he was quite remarkable. And often, in this country, we celebrate people like that, these risk takers, and we don't talk about their family. So I want to ask you, you were only like 10 or 11 when he passed away. And what I get is that you guys talked about it, but not as much as you thought until you started putting this documentary together. Why was it important, and what did you sort of learn through this process?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's just one of those things that anyone who goes through some sort of loss or tragedy in life, it's hard to take the time to sit down and analyze how it's impacted you. We're coming out of a couple years now of this time when everyone has been experiencing some sort of trauma in one way or another. And I think as humans, and now especially, we're so focused on moving forward that oftentimes we forget to slow down and look at how things actually impact us and steer us in one way or another in life. And that's a big part of what Making Torn was about for me and my family.
What takeaways did you have about risk and reward?
I mean, I think that we all take risks in one way or another. It might not be risking our lives or our bodies and health, but we all risk something in the pursuit of whatever brings us meaning in life. And you're always going to be balancing that sense of self-worth and pursuing that thing that makes you feel whole with that selfless love that you give to those who hold you up in life. And, a lot of people see climbing as this selfish, risky activity, but at the same time, it's what made Alex who he was. And it's what made him the man that I looked up to as a young kid and who, led me into my life now as someone who pursues something that they love for their work and life. So.
Max, I'm sort of curious, and I hope this doesn't come off as too much of a stretch, but you did talk about what we've all been living through with the pandemic, right? And a story that we haven't really talked about a lot yet, but I'm sure it's going to happen in the coming years, are the number of children who have been left without parents because of this pandemic. And, in some cases, it will be because of nothing that the parent has done. In other cases, it will be because the parent is a first responder and in a similar way to your father, that many people thought, what they did was heroic. In some cases, it will be because, someone refused to get a vaccination. And, maybe that child might blame the parent for making those decisions. I imagine over your life, there's been quite a range of emotions when you thought about your father. And I'll just say this, I saw another interview with you, and I may be reading too much into it, but you didn't call him dad. You called him by his first name. And I'm curious about that decision and what, just how you feel about the journey, the emotional journey that you have taken to get to this point where you can talk with us, a stranger, about your relationship with your father.
Yeah, I mean, well, we call Alex now because Conrad, who stepped in and adopted us, is now our dad. He has been our dad longer than Alex ever was, me and my 2 younger brothers. And, I think that I've gone through quite a range of emotions from, when you're a little kid, you just kind of tag along with whatever your parents are doing in life. And you always trust that they're making the right decisions for themselves, for you, for your shared life together. And being 10 years old when Alex was killed, that shifted my perspective at a really young age. And I had to grow up really fast in a lot of different ways. But Looking back, I don't really resent Alex because as much as what he did led him to this place where he is now gone from us, and we have to live with that. He also led this life that led me to where I am, which is a beautiful place in the world, and telling the story and sharing it with people. And, as much as there is a lot of sadness and pain in dealing with this sort of stuff, turning back and looking at these moments that seem like a dark spot on your past oftentimes end up allowing you to see the bright parts of it as well. And, even though you might have lost someone, they give you something that sticks with you even beyond what their life brought to your place in the world.
That is a gem that I think many people will be hanging on to, right? Even in loss, there's a gift that you get.
Yeah. Max, thank you so much. The doc is called Torn. Thanks for being with us.
Yeah, thank you so much.